Welcome to the PT Legends podcast, where co-host Dave Bess and myself, Scott Carpenter, share our journey and secrets of success. From our humble beginnings as personal training employees of a big box gym to struggling studio owners that have made every mistake in the book, to where we are now, the owners of a multi-seven-figure business operating multiple personal training studios internationally, and now coach and mentor to fitness professionals in 5 countries and counting. This is our story, and these are our secrets. Subscribe to our podcast, learn, take action, and build your own fitness empire. Welcome back to the PT Legends podcast. I am Scott.
Big Dave clocking in.
Yeah, buddy. Last episode I wore a tuxedo shirt. And then Dave insisted that I wear it again. So here we are. We'll see how long we can keep this trend going. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the number one quality that you have to have in a new hire to avoid a complete and utter disaster. And you'll have to take my word for this because I'm an expert. I'm an expert in hiring or allowing people to be hired in the past that were total friggin' disasters and meltdowns. And any gym owner that's listening that has had a staff and been in business for a few years, I know you have your stories too. And hey, if yours have just been mild disappointments that got, great, that you're very lucky. But holy cow, we've had some meltdowns, haven't we?
Oh my God. We were talking before we started recording this, how the majority of them are really good on paper too.
Yeah.
The majority of them is like, okay, they're checking off a lot of the boxes. It's okay. They have a skill set. They can count reps. They even show up on time. Like maybe they're doing a lot of the things that you want them to do. But I mean, I'll never forget when we had the conversation this was an epiphany moment too. We were taking this walk and you said, man, everybody that we hire for moving forward is going to be happy.
Yeah.
Like it's so simple.
So simple. And I know when you're listening, you're like, okay, great. Got it. Happy.
Yeah.
This is a waste of my time.
Yep.
No, here's the thing. You are going to find that person who's really good on paper or who's just amazing in front of you. Okay. And their clients seem to really like them and enjoy them. And that's when it gets really bad, actually. But yeah, it's like they look the part.
Yes.
They can be very well spoken. They can do a great job connecting with people, and they know what they're doing. Like they're very educated. They may even be very passionate about the fitness world and everything like that. But if they are not happy, positive people who have their shit together,
yes,
you are going to walk into a trap. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It may not be right away. It may be 6 months down the road. It could be 3 years down the road.
Yep.
But if they aren't a happy, positive person who have their shit together, they will sink your business. I can promise you this will blow up in your face. And it has every single time for us over the last 9.5 years, in some ways horrendously. But yeah, because like when we look back then, okay, we look back and we're looking at all these people who weren't who didn't check that box.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you brought up a valid point. Sometimes that you have that itch, like, oh, something's going on here. Like this person, like, man, they're not the same person that they were. Like they're an absolute mess, especially with what we're doing now because we're doing mentoring programs. Right. So that's even the next level, but they can trick you.
They can trick you. Absolutely.
They can sweep it and they're good at sweeping it under the rug. And
they're good.
And then you'll sell yourself because the pain in the ass it is to hire someone new.
Yeah.
Or the fact that you're going to have to jump back in and train more hours.
So that's it, guys. It's just, we like to hire people and we're a little quick and sometimes we'll ignore. We might have that gut feeling or there are these red flags.
Yes.
But we totally shove that to the side because when we hire somebody, we keep them on. We don't cut them loose right there. There's like, when we hire them, there's this feeling of relief, like, oh my God, okay, I don't have to take on the next 3 people I sign up or whatever it is. There's this relief that you can offload some of the stuff that you have. And a lot of times you can make a fast or a hurried or a hiring decision that you shouldn't make because you're just so eager to get something off of your plate. So watch for that. But yeah, these people can be good at masking these things. And we're also, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are optimists. We look for the good in people, and we might be in front of this person and be like, okay, well, they're a little off here, but I can make this work. They're really talented. They know what they're doing. I can coach the rest, or it'll be fine. We tend to dismiss what could be the negative side of it because we're just interested in moving forward. And I mean, we've done that.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Oh. And someone that we want to, in a lot of ways, help. Like, because we have such big, we have big hearts. This is my number one weakness as someone that's hired people. And before, it's just like, man, this person has a skill set and I like them. Maybe I even love them. But man.
Yeah. And this was recently even.
Yeah.
Right.
It's happened a couple times. You've
had it more often. And
yeah.
So my fault in that, my role in that was like, I've been through more because I had 4 years in Lifetime, and 3 of those I was an assistant manager running the whole department. So I had 20 some trainers on staff that I had to hire, manage, develop, fire, all of that. So I'd seen a lot more, and there's a lot of turnover at Lifetime. So I can see these red flags faster. And then, I did the whole business ownership thing a lot earlier than you.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So I've seen and been through more. And so my role, my fault in that was I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't assist enough.
Yeah.
I didn't warn enough. But here's the thing, even when you do that, guys, you still have to make some of the mistakes yourself.
It's true.
Because you can put blinders on to some of these red flags or some of these issues or possibilities. And then although you kind of know it, but you don't, it's not a conscious thing. And then later on, and then as you look back, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And what is that? Hindsight is 2020 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys know when you saw these signs before, but you chose to ignore them. Right. And we had that one guy who was split between 2 locations. Right. We'll call him, we'll call him Jay. Okay. And again, like, he's just a very likable guy, connected with all his people, love him. But he had a little bit of a checkered past, and he can be shown to be a couple manipulative signs, but then he started getting back into drugs after however long, and did a total 180. And I'm like, you're done from here. But no, I love this dude. And I'm going to give him, I'm going to let him continue at my location, and I can work with them. And it just ended up horrible, right?
Yeah.
And because you have that bleeding heart thing where I know, I'm like, I've seen this shit before. I know where it's going.
Yeah. You call it out every time but the key is you've been there. You've been through it so many times. And it's just, if you're like, oh, this time it's going to be different, it's just not going to be different.
It's just not going to be different.
Yeah.
It's not going to be different. And they hide stuff, and they have great excuses. And when the excuses keep coming, and even if they make perfect sense, I'm like, this is bullshit. Because a lot of times these people are good at hiding things. They're good at manipulating too. And especially if they know, I mean, they're really good. That's why they're really good with their clients. They can develop this amazing connection relationship. And a red flag that you have to look out for is if they do if you feel sorry for them, okay?
Yeah.
And want to help them, there's a good chance they know what they're doing. They're manipulating you. And this is why they develop a really good relationship with people, and why you never hear from these clients that there's an issue, is because they like them. They feel sorry for them. They don't want to throw them under the bus. They don't want to jeopardize their job. This just happened with the last one.
No, that's
under Clayton.
Nailed it.
And I said, I bet you he's been sharing his backstory and all these things to his clients. And I bet you haven't heard a thing. And then as we let him go on Saturday, right?
Yep.
And Clayton has been talking to all of the clients. He's like, you nailed it 110%. He's like, he's been talking, and and then, those couple renewals that didn't come through, who were sick for 2 or 3 weeks. It's just all bullshit, right? It's just, they left because they had enough. And that's what'll happen. The clients will leave. They won't say anything because they don't want to throw them under the bus, and they will leave. Or they'll stick with them because they like them that much.
Yeah.
One or two things that happen.
And I guess why you keep on like holding out hope is because, I mean, in my head, I'm like, okay, I love this person. I genuinely care about them. I believe like, oh, I can give them this chance and they can turn things around. This time is going to be different.
Right.
And then knowing the consequences if I do let them go. Okay, now I'm going to potentially have to go in and start training another 6 hours a week. But every time that I've acted and let that person go and I had to throw myself back into it, the positive energy came back into my life. Like my monk manual, when I had to let go of a gentleman, and there was one question I would answer every night in the monk: when did you feel, uncomfortable or an unrest? And like every single day, this person would keep on popping up, but I kept on kicking the can down the road. Then all of a sudden, I had to start going in at 4:15, 4:30 every single day, but my positive energy was back.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that gut says don't act, even if there's going to be bumps in the road along the way where you're going to have to work your ass off, maybe for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and so we do not nip it in the bud, and it's not nip it in the butt; it's nip it in the bud, like like a plant.
Oh, really? Right? I didn't know that.
I know. I'm
there we
full
go.
of interesting facts. That's why I'm wearing my tuxedo shirt. But yeah, so nip it in the bud early. These problems get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as they get to know. They work with more and more clients. As it's just the pain. So here's what happens: is that the pain of letting them go, because then you have to take over all that or whatever it is, or you're going to have loss. You're going to lose $3,000 a month in business or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That pain is so great that you don't want to take action now. And you try and do some coaching, or you just ignore it. Consciously or subconsciously, you stuff it down.
There. Yep.
And it's there and it wears on you. I saw that with a couple of your people, right?
Oh yeah.
And it just wears on you. When you notice that, you have to nip it in the bud. You have to tackle it now. The problem is only going to get bigger. It's going to get worse. There is nothing worse than, even when people don't show up on time, right? Like, oh, this person's really great though. They just have this blah, blah, blah. There's nothing worse than like signing up a new person and say it's for a higher ticket personal training or one of our high ticket transformation programs, and wondering if that trainer is going to show up.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the worst feeling. And maybe you're there working with somebody or doing something, you're like, oh my God, please show up, please show up, please show up. And it's like 3 after the hour. And you're like, oh, dude, you can't do that. Get it fucking done. Let them go. Let them go. This shit will blow up in your face worse. And you've had that like 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you just do it. It'll be a lot less painful, a lot less bloody when you do it now rather than wait. And I've done that too. I've been guilty of letting that thing go longer than it should.
Yep.
I have been guilty of asking questions but accepting bullshit answers instead of prying more or instead of challenging more. Right? Or sometimes people are really good liars too. That definitely happens. But I could have asked other people questions and found it out too.
And you're doing them a disservice too by not challenging them and calling them out and helping them grow.
Here's the thing. Yeah, if you're enabling people by not coming down on them, by not doing, like, they are never, ever going to learn. And maybe they'll never learn. Some people don't, right? But the bottom line is if you allow these things to happen because you don't want to suffer the consequences of doing something about it, that's how they learn these behaviors, is because there really aren't any consequences to them. And you're doing them a disservice too. You're doing your clients, you're doing everyone a disservice. And a lot of times when you finally let them go, the rest of your staff is like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yep.
And they don't even want to throw them under the bus because people feel bad for other people. And the people that do this kind of stuff, guys, they're masters at getting other people to feel bad for them. That's why they're able to do this for so long. That's why they're able to hide it. They always have excuses. Or they're just very likable. So that's the hard thing, is like, you want to hire likable people, but you have to really watch. Are they really a happy, positive person? Mm-hmm. Do they have their shit together? And it doesn't mean they have to have their whole life figured out. Nobody, right? It's not that. But we have hired people, and it's just like, okay, well, they're trying to get back on their feet, and they're doing right. You want to help them with a good job and give them opportunities, and you got to really be careful with that. I'm a huge fan of second chances, but they already mentally have to have their shit together.
Yes.
You can't help them mentally get their shit together. It will blow up in your face. Right? I mean, we've got a partner and a mayor in a studio who, I don't want to get too much into his backstory, but like he had a very checkered past. And because he grew up in a bad neighborhood, right? And he wasn't even raised by his parents. And he's a person that I trust almost more than anybody.
100%.
And that's a second chance. I don't care about that checkered past. And he was a statistic, for God's sakes. And the fact that he got out and changed is just
But he changed
amazing.
by the time that you met him.
Absolutely.
He had all of our, he was happy, he was positive, and he had his stuff together.
100%. 100%. If you give that job to somebody who's still trying to crawl out of that hole or is just asking you to help them, you got to have a big caution flag up there.
Yep.
Big caution flag. And that is blown up. I mean, we've got multiple locations, right? But I don't know.
Every single time. If your gut tells me, if my gut
5
tells
to 10,
me.
somewhere between 5 and 10 people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we knew, and I knew way before, like I knew a year with most of these. I knew a year ahead of time, like, oh, something's off, but I don't care how successful you are. The excuse monster can come into your life and say, I have so many other things going on. I can sweep this thing under the rug. And it's just.
Oh, and guys, it's not just with hiring, it's with our own problems too.
Yep.
Right. There's two things that we really want to do innately is we want to run from pain and seek out pleasure. Right. And running from pain is something that innately we're very, very good at. It is really hard. And so what happens is the pain of handling this situation now and letting that person go is too great. And so we don't until it gets so bad that the pain of not letting them go becomes bigger. And then we finally are forced to act. So just be very aware to make sure you're not falling into that trap, because that becomes a huge problem later on. The loss to your business is going to be a lot bigger. And then you are going to go months and months and months or years and years and years with that on your subconscious, stuffing it down. And that's not a good thing to do. But we do that with our own problems too. So anywhere, I mean, you look at it, like, look like, where am I just avoiding pain? Generally, that's a thing that you need to tackle sooner rather than later. Whether it's in your personal relationship or this or that, everywhere, just look for that.
Hire happy people.
Hire happy people. Because let me tell you where, before we let you go, where has this ended up for some of us? Okay, well, with, as we call them, Jay, had to call an ambulance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because he came in all fucked up. It's like we have to a couple of different names.
Karen.
We'll call Karen.
Karen.
Had to let her go over the phone since she was dodging me, and then showed up at the studio even though she wasn't allowed, and had to call the police and get the locks changed.
Get the cops involved.
And there was like a Jerry Springer show out there with her and her mom.
Yep.
That was interesting. We'll call him J number 2.
Okay.
He got a second chance at another location because I thought fundamentally this is a good person who made bad decisions. Yes. Allowed him to go to another location where he did the exact same thing and blew up that location. And then he threatened to sue me afterwards when I let him go. Let's see, where else does this go? There's a lot more than that.
There's a lot more. I can't say anything because I'm the PC guy. Believe it or not, between us, I think I'm the PC guy. I'm thinking of a couple of them. Like, I don't know if we could say this on air.
I remember when we were at our last mastermind, you're like, you're a controversial person. I'm like, me? What'd I say?
Yes, I mix in well with the Canadians. Usually we're just like, let Scott talk. All right.
And I said that, you know, the last big one was we actually bought a car for somebody. So in a Kano sedan, right? To help him get on his feet because of this and that. And that ended up bad right there. I mean, you can want to help people, but if they're not wanting to help themselves with this, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and even the functional people, make sure they're positive, make sure they're happy, because nobody is coming in here. What happens is that trainers and coaches, they'll come in, they develop this relationship with your clients, and they will start talking about their lives way too much. And, you know, hey, in some instances it helps retention, but if you lose that person or when you lose that person, they're out.
Yep.
But a lot of people will leave. If they come in and they are the psychologist to the trainer or the coach, it's over at a certain point.
Yep.
So watch out for that, guys. That's it. Happy, positive people. You can't coach that. You can teach a lot of different things. You can teach skills and this and this and this, but you cannot teach somebody to be positive and happy no matter how hard you try.
That's it.
That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week on the PT Legends podcast. Dave and myself, Scott, would love to thank you for tuning in and listening to the PT Legends podcast. You can get direct access to us by joining our free Facebook group. Go to www.facebook.com/groups/7-figure personal trainer. That's 7-figure personal trainer with the number 7. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep on learning and keep on living. Finally, if you picked up any tips whatsoever in this episode that you found helpful, be sure to leave us a review and tell us what you like best about it. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.